Okay, today I'm going to show you and talk to you about how I did this beautiful hardwood floor. This flooring is in an office for my husband's business. We've been working on this project for quite a while, and he's a graphic designer and he needed some creative space. And so we decided, after a lot of thinking and working together, we came up with this vision of this idea of what we wanted. And so first we started off with some hardwood flooring that I found off of our local yard sale groups. And it's a beautiful ash floor, and I was super excited when I found this for a fraction of the cost of what it would be brand new. And it had a beautiful finish on it, but it wasn't the finish that we wanted for this office space. So when I found this flooring, I'm like, I'm buying it, but we got to do something to it. So I borrowed my neighbor's planer, which was wonderful, and I took each of the board pieces through and I sent them through the planer. And what the planer did is the planer removed just a fraction of the wood off the top, and it took that finish off, so we were down to the natural wood. So then from there, I was able to take each of the pieces and I painted different sections, different colors. I wanted to paint them before I installed them so that I could actually see the color when I laid everything out. So you can see I have a dark blue, and then I did this light gray, and I also used a dark gray, and then we also left some of the boards the natural color. Now the paint that I used was a bare flat paint. Flat paint sticks to everything, and I love using flat paint. So that's what I used for this. And knowing that I was going to be putting a varathane over the top when I was done meant that I wasn't worried about the finish or the sheen of the paint. After painting all the boards, it was time to prep the area. And so I went through the entire office and I hammered in all the nails that were sticking out a little bit, and I took the shop vac and I vacuumed up all the dust. And then I started laying out this underlayment. And this is just a waterproof barrier that goes between the subfloor and your hardwood flooring. There are many different kinds that you can get, and you can research and find what you need for your area. I will be honest, it's what we had left over from another project, and I love to reuse, so that's what I used. All right, so now it was time to start laying the flooring, and we needed to put a chalk line down so that we had a straight edge to start with. This is where we struggled. The walls weren't exactly straight. That's new construction or old construction. It's any kind of construction for you, but the walls weren't exactly straight. So it took us a while to figure out how to get our chalk line so that we had a straight line. But once we finally had the straight line, we were able to lay the wood down and start going. All right, the first row that you put in of hardwood floor has to be face nailed in. Because you cannot get your floor nailer up that close to the wall. So you want to drill a pilot hole first and then hammer in your nails after you've drilled your pilot hole. If you don't do that, you won't be able to get through and you'll have bent nails all over the place. Okay, on your next row, you're still not able to use your power nailer. So you're also going to want to pre-drill your pilot holes and then nail them into place. Now remember, you're always going through the tongue side. The tongue side is where you nail, not the groove side. And you always want to make sure that you pre-drill your holes and that your nails are going in at an angle and not straight down. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to get an exact cut at the end without having to use a tape measure, which is really nice. So you're going to turn it around backwards and you're going to lay so that it's tongue against tongue, and you're going to put it right up against the board and against the other board, just like I'm doing. And then I mark right by the outside of the groove where it's going to slide into, against the tongue, I guess is really what it is. And then I cut it. And then you'll see right here, that's the flat edge. When I turn it around, that's perfectly against the wall. And then it slides right up into place. Now with hardwood flooring, you always want to make sure that you have spacing against the wall. I gave myself about a 1/2 inch on each side along the beginning and then on each of my sides so that it has room to expand and contract. Then I went ahead and got my flooring nailer and I just nailed it into place. So now I just continue to add flooring all along, and I would just randomly space out the coloring. I think the hardest part for me was choosing which board to go next. So then, as you can see, I used this amazing nail gun It's very nice because you just bang the end. It connects to an air compressor. It has a little lip that hooks right down by the edge of the board, and you just smack it into place. It's very rewarding and kind of gets out the frustrations, which is really nice. Now, not always does the nail gun get the nails all the way in, and you have to sometimes you have to use a nail set to sink those nails in farther so that you can get the boards snug right up next to each other. After I had all the flooring laid, I went through and used a wood putty to patch where I had where I had a face nail, and where I had some bigger knots. I used a wood putty, and then I lightly sanded. But guess what I found out? You don't have to sand. If you just use a wet rag, a damp rag, and you can wipe right over the top, it removes the putty but leaves what needs to be left in the holes. It works beautifully. After putty had time to dry and I'd cleaned everything up, then I went over and I had to repaint in spots the places where I had used the putty. So I painted everything, and then I let that dry for probably about a week before I had time to go back and do the finish. And here you have the finished product. It turned out absolutely beautiful. I did 2 coats of an oil-based varathane over the top, and it's in a satin finish, so it just gives a nice, beautiful shine, but not too shiny. I think the floor turned out amazing. I'm not a professional, so there are definitely some things that probably could have been done differently, but I think it turned out perfect for our budget and for us.